Hello, everyone. Today I have Amrish here. He is the creator of Chadform. Amrish, welcome. How would you describe Chadform? Could you give us a brief overview of what that product is?
Thanks for having me, Nicholas. So, Chadform is a decentralized version of the well-known Typeform. We basically made it free, so it's usable for everyone, and we powered it. Just we backed it with a token, so we integrated it into a product, and that's the only way where it would make financially sense as well. So it can be self-sustainable while being free for the users.
That's awesome. And what's Typeform for anyone who's not familiar with that?
Yeah, good question. So in the real world, if you have, like, let's say you have a survey of a company or you're a student and you want to have data driven decisions, you need to collect data from somewhere. And then that's where forms come in, right? So Typeform is just a digital form, just like a Google form, a physical form. But what they did is they just put it into a very nice design. So it's like a full user experience. You click on start form and you have like this very nice, neat design. And that's basically why they went viral years ago. Two guys from Barcelona. Um, yeah, to summarize it, I couldn't make it any simpler. But
Yeah, that
that's
makes sense. That gives me a good idea of what it is. And how about your background? Yeah, like how did you get into this?
Yeah, very interesting story actually. So I didn't plan to get into this whole world. For me, it's totally new. So it can be. I think this can be a very interesting conversation coming from someone that has been doing business in Web 2 for years, but it's totally new into Web 3 and crypto related businesses. So I've been in e-commerce for like 5 years, and then 2 years ago I pivoted into SaaS. Just long story short, I've grown up in the Netherlands, in a town, not Amsterdam, but next to Amsterdam, and I was always a technical kind of person. I was building computers when I was young. I then got my first camera and started making YouTube videos. I then started to do a little business, a little side hustle, recording for like small companies that wanted product videos. And when they got an event, I went there and recorded it and stuff. So I got I got a little bit into business, and then from there it was like, okay, this is interesting, but it would be very very nice to have something like a clothing brand, like something like I was 16 years old at the time, and I was like, I want to do something online. I was seeing these guys from small towns in the Netherlands flying on private jets, being everywhere, and I was like, what the hell are they doing? Not specifically because of the money, but because of the freedom, because I've grown up in a very, I wouldn't call it fully poor, but with a single mom, welfare, so it was fairly limited. And I always ask myself the question, like, why am I limited? Why me? And then eventually I just came into the mindset, like, everything is possible. I see these guys, they come from small towns. So anyway, I got into, I was looking into online business ideas, and then you come towards e-commerce quickly. So I was like, okay, fair, this is interesting. Let's just try a clothing brand. And again, I was always doing my own video editing and doing YouTube and stuff. So I was working with Adobe Photoshop, and I was like, okay, let me just, spin up some designs, put it online, and I don't know, I'll see it. So I did that. At the same time, I was doing a lot of things. I was making music as well. So I released a song on Spotify, and long story short, came in touch with someone that was doing some business online. He saw the music video. Like, I'm saying this because it's like crossover. He saw the music video, got in touch with him. He was like, yo, this is sick. And then I was like, okay, what the hell do you do? And then he was like, yeah, I'm doing this. And I was like, okay, that's exactly what I would like to do, It's selling online stuff. So we started the first company, which is stickers for debit cards and credit cards. And it was a funny idea. And I was like, it's not going to be a big thing, but at least I'll get some experience. So we started it. We put it online. We did a few $100s in sales in the first month. Bear in mind, I was 16 at the time. And then the next month, we started doing Facebook ads. So for someone that doesn't know, if you're scrolling on Instagram, you're seeing ads, At the time, like, this is years ago, like 2020, 2019. Yeah, so Facebook ads was very, very cheap at the time. You were spending like a few euros in the Netherlands, and you were reaching like thousands of people. It was very, very cheap. And payment processing wise, like I'm not going to go into detail, but it was a very great time to start e-commerce businesses. So we started running ads, and before I knew, we were doing 30K in the second month. Again, I was like 16 years old. I was still sitting in high school. I was refreshing my Shopify dashboard. I was like, "What the fuck? This isn't real. Like, what's going on?" You know, I'm onto something. So we built a business out. Eventually, we went into dropshipping as well, what everyone was doing. But yeah, I went from building a brand to dropshipping, then sold my sticker brand 2 years ago, if I'm right. No, like 1.5 years ago. And I was like, this is all fun and stuff, but I'm a technical guy and I really like software. I like to build apps. I have no idea how, but I was experimenting with no-code tools and learning a little bit of how to code and stuff. And I was like, I need to go all in, man. Like, this is going to take all of my time, but fuck it. So I sold the store. I stopped with dropshipping. I had a little bit of cash. I was like, okay, this should be enough to live off and fuck around and find out, to say it like that, right? So I was like, okay, screw it. Go all in. Build a first platform. It was e-commerce related platform. Failed. Then I went ahead and partnered with someone that got an agency. Got a share into that agency, and I was like, okay, I'm going to turn that into a software. So, long story short, went all in into software, built our first SaaS, leveraged the agency customers to get users on the software, and actually, like, as a launchpad, instead of marketing from zero. So, we still have that, actually. Like, next to all of the crypto stuff going on now, we still have that. And from there, I just started building my own stuff. And Chadform was eventually one of them. So, started to build Chadform 2 months ago. I built most of it in 7 days. Then I finished it, I launched it, got a few users, didn't do any active marketing because again, I wanted to be free, but it wasn't really sustainable. Like, I don't earn any money of it. It's like, okay, it's a nice side project. And eventually, a friend of mine called and he's like, you really need to pick up the phone. He texted, because I'm someone like, if you call me, bro, I'll probably not answer. I'm always working and I'm like in deep focus. So he's like, no, it's very important. You need to call me back. And I call him back and he's like, bro, there's this new thing, because he's been in the crypto space always. And he's like, there's this new thing. It's called Believe. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking? He's like, yeah, you need to check it out. It's literally made for you. And I was like, bro, okay, sure. So I checked it out. I was sitting in a bathroom. I was going through the Believe Creator Playbook, and it was saying you could launch a token with simply tweeting. So a few weeks earlier, I tweeted about Chadform. I wrote a whole thread. So I was sitting there in the bathroom. I was like, okay, I have a lot of work to do today, but let me just send out this tweet, and I'll check it later. I tweeted it. So I replied to the thread. I was like, okay, you need to do like add launch coin and then the ticker and then the name. I was like, okay, sure, whatever, dude. Send it. Put the phone back on my desk, back to work. 10 minutes later, got called. I was like, what? Why do you, like, I've my night mode on, so you need to call like twice before it rings. So I was like, what the fuck's going on? The same guy called me. He's like, my friend, he's like, bro, did you just launch? And I was like, what do you mean? Yeah, well, I think so. Like, I tweeted something, so I think so. I don't know. He's like, bro, you're at 80K. I'm like, wait, what? He's like, yeah, you're hitting the bonding curve. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking? What the fuck is the bonding curve? I was like, and he was explaining it. And while he was explaining, we went through it, and it bonded. I don't know how you call it. So I was like, okay. And he's like, bro, it's at 200. While we were still talking, I was like, wait, what the fuck is all this money, bro? What's going on? Who's investing? What's going on? These must be bots. They're going to snipe it, they're going to sell it, and it's done. Like, I just tweeted. So long story short, it was totally unexpected, but the same day, it ran up to a few 100K. Then I got pushed, basically, by the community, by everyone tweeting, like nobody knew me. They were like, yeah, you need to hop onto a Spaces, and you need to explain what your plans are. I was sitting there, I was like, bro, I have all this work to do. What's going on, Where, like, what the hell happened? So then FOMO reached out to me, or at least I reached out to him. He sent me a message. I don't know what it was. He was sending me a message, and then everyone pressured me like, yeah, he's the guy. And I was like, I don't know this dude, but sure, looks legit. And I really appreciated the way he communicated to me. And I was like, just saying, like, bro, I have no clue what's going on. This is the token. This is my background. Seems like you're a great guy to have the spaces with, and then we scheduled the spaces the next morning. We did the spaces. Token went to 1.6 million or 1.7 million market cap. Did a lot of volume. As a lot of guys know, we get paid from the transaction volume. So we did like 6 million or 5.7 million in the first 24 hours. So there was a lot of fees suddenly. I was like, like, just thrown into the space, bro. So sorry for the long yap, but that's what happened.
No, I love it because that's what my next question was going to be is like, why did you launch a token? And you gave me a great story of exactly why. And that is a similar story amongst a lot of the creators I've talked to. They weren't Web3 native and they just saw Believe and they thought, why not? I'll just launch a token. And now they're kind of running with it and seeing what can be done. So that that's very common. Do you have any ideas of specific ways to integrate the token yet, or are you still working that out?
We've actually integrated it. So the first thing that came to mind is, of course, what's next. And we launched, and I was like, okay, so this is unexpected. And then the first thing I asked myself in a very calmly manner is, what do we have here, and like, what do we work with? What's the goal? So I went into the nitty gritty details of Web3 and tokens and how we could integrate it into Web2. And while I was looking at it, like, it suddenly came to me. The problem with Chadform was always that it wasn't self-sustainable if you make it free. But if you attach a token to it and you integrate it within the product, you can suddenly make a product for free for the end user while still maintaining self-sustainability for the company. Because the revenue is then coming from the transaction volume. And if you integrate it in a way where, for example, in my head, from what what I believe is that there are free ways to integrate the token within the application. And if you choose either of the free ways, you could finance the whole application, the hosting, the development, etc., the marketing, through transaction volume, because it would attract more trading for the coin. And then, it's just one product. It's like one thing. The first way would be burning the tokens with a specific action. The second way would be hold to access. And the third way would be, for example, buybacks that are linked to revenue. Now, one important thing from my understanding, again, I'm totally new. I've been in this space for 1 week, but logically, I would say it isn't really possible to link it directly to a company, because then you would be looking at stocks, like decentralized stocks. Like, eventually it would be very nice to have something like that, but I feel like we still are swimming in a very unregulated way. And that like, to answer your question, that brings us to one of these free integration ways.
Yeah, I like it. The question of integration is like different for every company, and I think that's a good way. You have a good grasp on what your different options are, and you definitely make a good point to not tie it directly to your company, because that's a legal hassle, and you got to be careful to not talk about the price too much. There's a lot of like guidance that Believe founders still need on what they can and can't say. So definitely treating it with care is important, and I'm glad to see that you're already thinking about different ways to integrate it, and that you have integrated it. So you said it is integrated, and how have you integrated it so far?
So one thing that I learned from the first days is that speed is everything. I always was a very, very I was someone that always liked, like, what I say within the team. I always said this internally is, money loves speed. And I'm saying money because money is a metric which we can track. It's not all about money, but money is like a scoreboard. And it is a resource, especially in business. And so what I constantly always did is I wanted to ship faster, and how can we optimize the process, etc., etc. And so with the question being, how are these tokens integrated within the product in the first week, in the first couple of days, where there was a lot of volume coming into the Belief ecosystem, I was like, I need to be the first, or one of the first, to integrate this within the product. So to be totally honest with you, the first way that we integrated it was the hold to access method, because it was, one, the easiest. I shipped that within 1 day. And second of all, it was like, okay, you gate the access, and you'll probably be one of the first. And what I like to do is ship fast, so it's a perfect way to, let the community know like this is what I'm about. Because at the end of the day, it's just like VCs. You invest in the founder, you invest in me, you get trust in me, and then you put your money where your mouth is. If you like feel like I'm going to win the race or whatever, that's basically like how business is. It's all about it's people and people. People work with people. So I was like, okay, I'll do it that way. So the first integration way was hold to access. Now, eventually, when I had the time to think a little bit, because the first week was very intense, and you probably had it the first week as well. Like, it launched. At least I had this conversation with a lot of founders about their first couple of days. It's like, bro, you're suddenly in a very intense environment. It's like everyone's tweeting, everyone's looking at. I need to make hires suddenly. So I was sleeping like a few hours a night. I didn't really have time to do anything else. I was locked up in my room, and eventually I got the time to, after the integration, lay back and think like, okay, so we are integrating whole to access, but the whole idea here is to make the product free, accessible for everyone. That's at least my personal goal. I know a lot of other founders have another vision, but my personal goal is to integrate Web3 in the real world, and I think this is the perfect use case to do so. And I was like, wait, actually, if we do hold to access, we limit ourselves to customers that have Web3 knowledge. It isn't that easy currently as of now, and I hope this is going to change. And I know a lot of VCs are looking into making this easier for normal Web2 customers to get into holding tokens, but you need to go through KYCs, get your passport out and stuff like that to even buy tokens, and then you also need to swap it on the DEX, for our tokens, and then get access to the software. It's like there's a very limited audience. I was like, this is not the way, So we are now looking at linking burns and buybacks directly to the revenue, and making the product totally for free, but having power-ups in a marketplace functionality within the app. So if you log in now, you can create a account totally for free. You can get started totally for free. And then if you want power-ups, let's say AI functionality, let's say you want some, like remove the branding if you're a company, have custom branding. These are all power-ups. And these you can unlock with tokens. At the same time, you can also earn tokens. So it's like really a marketplace. You can earn tokens, for example, with referrals, with submissions. So we're now looking at, I'm recording this podcast, we're integrated right now, so I'll say it right now, but when you get new submissions, you earn chat, and then we have an idea, it hasn't been integrated yet, but to make it the circle complete, so it makes all sense, to also burn it when you get a submission. So that way you reduce the supply, and over time the holders get rewarded instead of just focusing on trading volume. But yeah,
I like that.
Yeah,
that's
the
thoughtful.
Way. No.
Did you get a lot of advice from crypto native people? Because that sounds like, really good ideas. And, I'd be shocked if a person from Web 2 came up with that all on their own. Did you get help from people that you respect in the space?
Honestly, I've been trying to contact a lot of people, and I feel like since I'm totally new into the space, and the project is very new, the belief's very new, I had a very hard time to connect with people within the space, and so the people that I spoke with were very limited. One of them is, of course, FOMO then, but other than that, I had then one friend that recommended me, like, hey, you need to get onto Believe. That one friend, I was talking with him, like, okay, I'm into all of this, what are your thoughts? So I got his takes on it, but to be totally fair, I just did a lot of research, bro. I was like, okay, I've always been like, okay, I've been an architect at heart, I've never been a really I've been an architect forced to be CEO in the business, if that makes sense. Like I was forced to fire people and make tough decisions, but at core, I'm just, I like to build. So yeah, I just did research, bro, and I was like, okay, what makes sense? So I want to understand all of it, and that's the sleepless nights. And I was like, okay, burns and buybacks. But buybacks, you can't call buybacks because that would be like legally again like buying something. It needs to be a merchandise, so we can't do that. So for now, it's burns.
I like it. I'm impressed that you came to that without a lot of hand holding, and that's a thing that I want to see Believe really update. And it seems like they're working on it. but a lot of these founders are coming from Web 2, and there's so much complicated things here. And I'm glad you figured a lot of this out on your own. Um,
Trying my best.
but yeah, in that way, like, what kind of support would you like to see from Believe, or what else would you like to see Believe do differently?
First of all, you're building within their ecosystem. So at the end of the day, they're getting 50% of the fees. And nothing against them. But if you take 50% of fees, which in the real world, okay, could be a VC, sure. You expect something in return other than just the platform. So, and I say that with, like, I tried to contact Ben, the founder. I tried to contact a lot of the people, like developers even, of Believe in the first week. Didn't get any response. Now, finally, luckily, this week, Ben got back to me. And again, like the other side of the story is probably they've got flooded with DMs. It's totally understandable that they can't help everyone. And they were prioritizing issues with fees. The fees were coming in for us like after 1 week, so that was all fine. Now, there's a lot of stuff that comes to launching, not only launching the token, but maintaining the token. Getting the product out there is one of them, so it would be marketing. The second thing would be the technical implementation. You're building on their infrastructure. We were able to ship the integration with Chadform this quickly because we weren't building on their infrastructure, and we were building on the Solana infrastructure and Phantom Wallet infrastructure, which is way more and better documented, where you actually can get support. Like the development support and developer experience is way better. And so, preferably, in an ideal world, we would have like a VC-like team, because that's what they are, right? They are bringing founders to the front. That actually helps you with technical questions, technical implementations. Also, if it comes to marketing, like if you have a really good product, because that is what they believe in, from my understanding, is they believe in founders. And if you are qualified a founder, and what I see in myself, like if I put myself out there, and I'm putting my face out there, I'm putting my word out there. I think that's the most, I see like a handful of people do that. And I think like that's personally my way of showing my authenticity here. We bought like 9% of the supply. We kept it. Haven't sold it. Yes, we did some trading, but yeah, the wallets are all transparent, so you can find all of that. But yeah, if you have a person like this, so long story short, like a qualified founder, marketing, technical implementations, long term, maybe like even you got one contact person that's there, because again, you're building in their ecosystem. They're getting 50% of the fees.
Yes. The fact that they get 50% of the fees really makes them need to step up their support. Because currently, most companies that I've talked to receive zero support. Like you. I mean, I don't know. They haven't supported you at all, and you've made them a shitload of money. So they are under an obligation to fix that and show you a lot more support and love. And I think they will. Like I said, I think
I was just about to say, yeah,
they've been inundated. It's been a crazy ride for them as well, and they're just spinning, like, they're a startup as well, and they're building. So I give them time, but I think I'm excited to see what they do with all those fees, because that gives them a lot of money to raise and or to hire people, to hire support. And I like your framework of, it's like a VC. You need different technical support. You need different marketing support. Yeah, I think you put it really well.
If I can make a prediction, what I think is going to happen is they've created a full new ecosystem basically, and they've got all these funds, they've got all the eyeballs. But the reality is, like, how would this look like? Would they hire like a whole team that's going to support like every founder and every coin? That's like a lot, which wouldn't make any sense, because then you have a monopoly there as well. If you want a healthy ecosystem, you want things to be, like layered. So what I think is going to happen, if you look at the Web 2 world, like again, this is coming from a Web 2 founder, or someone that is, I know how the Web 2 world works and how private equity works. What I think is going to happen is that they are going to support and build out their ecosystem with multiple layers. You see, like yesterday, FOMO launched Believe University. I think that's a perfect example of what I mean with this. Like, there's a huge gap which they could fill themselves, or they could use their funds, their eyeballs, everything to fund a party that's actually supporting their ecosystem. Because at the end of the day, it's not that FOMO in this case is building something separate. He's supporting the ecosystem. And then if he is, and if other parties are doing it, whether it's a VC or whatever, because I know there's 2 VCs that are entering the space now as well, you would create this healthy ecosystem where, okay, I can get support from Belief itself, but they're busy with other things. They're busy with keeping the ecosystem healthy, and that is a way to do their work as well through others. And then you have like agencies, like in the real world it's agencies, but you have an agency layer that can help you with technical implementations, that can help you with whatever. And that would get funded by Belief. I think we're going towards that direction because that's a proven model in the Web2 world. It would make sense to have like some sort of, look, if it can be decentralized, be my guest. That would be very, very nice. But you need to have some sort of guidelines and regulations in place to keep things healthy.
Well said. Where do you see Chadform 2 years from now?
Interesting question. Coming from a side project, which I literally built to prove everyone, and most importantly, myself, that I can build a billion-dollar company, which Typeform is, and replicate it within a week, I would use Chadform as a vehicle for something bigger. Forms are not my ambition. I think that's very understandable. But the mission behind it is. And my personal mission, which has been shaped over the last 2 weeks, but always was there, like I just uncovered it, is to make a big as possible positive impact on the world with tech. And in this case, if you specify it, it could be AI, it could be Web3. It always has been tech. And I think there is a great opportunity right now, like honestly, to leverage the blockchain benefits, leverage the power of Web3, which has been in a very shadowy spotlight for the last couple of years, into the real world. Like there are like supply chain, for example. There's like plenty of use cases where we could integrate tokens in this case, and it doesn't have to be a token. It can be just the blockchain system in general into the real world and real businesses, and have a transparency layer. I'm a huge fan of building in public. I love that narrative, and I will be embracing that narrative with Chadform and how we're going to expand the chat ecosystem as well. Notice how I say expand the chat ecosystem, because again, I want to use Chadform as a vehicle to bring this mission to life. What I mean with that is make products accessible for the end user for free in a model where you can disruptively present them as, financed by token economics. I think that's more than possible, and it's very interesting to do, like with a lot of these apps that are on the App Store. And in what specific way I'm going to unveil next week. But we've been looking into ways to take this further than only forms and build an ecosystem around it. I'm not going to launch a new token. It's going to be like chat. But Chadform is going to be a vehicle to answer your question for that mission, but not specifically only forms in 2 years. That makes sense.
I love it. Yeah, so there's a lot more to come, and you got bigger visions for what the Chadform ecosystem might look like. And I guess people should follow you on Twitter if they want to see those updates in a week from now, right? Keep up to date.
Yeah.
If you had a message for all the Chad holders out there someone who's held through all the ups and downs, what would you say to them?
First of all, the honest direction of my life has been changed in the last couple of weeks. It's been, again, a very intense week, and I know not only for me, not only for the people around me, but also for all the people that supported me throughout the way. The first thing I'd like to say, and I always said it on Twitter, and hopefully I will never say it enough, is thank you. Like, honestly. I've been a builder that hasn't gotten a really big audience, and I feel like we as small builders, and yeah, that's where this whole ecosystem is for, are finally getting appreciated with the work that we do. Now, with that said, I feel almost like a responsibility for you, if you still hold the token, to prove to you my maximum capabilities. You've put your trust in my hands, and not only in Chadform, because the app, it could be whatever. You've put it in my hands. You've put it in the founder's hands. I've been putting my face out there. I've been putting my vision, my idea out there. And again, forms are not my personal mission, of course. But you've put your trust in me, and I'll keep building whatever the market does. In the first couple of days, sure, I was a little distracted. I was totally new to this. But now I'm in a space where I'd like to keep your trust and just keep building what I've always been doing. The only difference is you are there. You are putting your trust there in my hands. Yeah.
Well said. Well said. I like that. It's been really special to see how different founders have felt super empowered by the token. Everyone I've talked to so far, when they launched the token, it gave them a lot more fire in their belly to build something even cooler, because they have all these people who believe in them and who are pushing them and who want them to succeed. It feels really good to have that validation from other people. And it really brings together a community of people who want to see you succeed. It aligns the incentives in a new way that previously you might have some power users who really love to use your product, but they won't be as aligned as someone who also holds your token and uses your product. Those people are going to be much more incentivized to share feedback and encouragement with the founders. And that's been a really special part of all of this. If people want to keep up with you, where should they go, Amrish?
Twitter is the place. Honestly, I've been making YouTube videos for a while now as well, so YouTube is probably the second place. But Twitter is the most active. Yeah, for sure.
All right, I'll make sure to link your Twitter. Check him out. Check out Chadform. And thank you so much for coming on the Dashcoin Research Podcast, Amrish.
Thanks for having me, man.
Great to have you.
And I love the project. I see Chad is on there as well, so I love that support as well. I was talking to you, actually, not only the other token holders.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to make the best place to go for all the degens to do their research, to find out which products are good. And that's part of why I'm doing this podcast, to help to give everyone, all the founders, a place to share their voice and their vision, and then to give the traders a place to go to listen and learn more about the founders of the projects that they hold.
I'd love it. I love it.
Thanks for coming on. Take care.
Thanks for having me.